Hey folks, it's Sarge. This is kind of one of those unplanned videos that I kind of released on the spur of the moment. It's not going to have great editing because I want to get it out to you quick. So if you've been paying attention and you live in the southeast US, you know Hurricane Isaias is a little bit of a threat to us right now. So if you have not already done so, today is the day to get out there and fill your gas cans, okay? This was a lesson I learned the hard way my first year that I moved here. That's the first thing that the supply chain's going to get interrupted during a hurricane, even a tropical storm it can be, and it can be pretty hard to find it. So I'm releasing this Saturday morning. If you haven't done so yet, please go out and get your gasoline that you're going to need for your vehicles and if you have a generator. So today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the after effects of a hurricane and the looting that goes on. That's going to be the main part of the video today. But before we get to that, I got a message to one of my fellow YouTube friends out there. Anthony McLemore, I saw your video of the unboxing with the machete. That, my friend, is not how we do an unboxing.
This is how you do an unboxing. You have failed me for the last time.
So I had some great footage that I took for you all at the Ashley River today, but the wind was just murder on my microphone. I could not make it work. I'm sorry. So you get a lovely picture of me in front of the Ashley River. And let's talk. What we're here to talk about today is Opsec before and after hurricane. The situation that you can typically see during a hurricane, especially when they call for evacuations, is that there is an increase in looting and burglaries. And the real bad window for it is like 48 hours before the storm to about 24 hours afterwards, because you have some nefarious people rolling through neighborhoods looking for empty houses. And they know that a lot of people have left. There's no neighbors poking their noses out the window to watch them as they snoop around your yard. You probably took your dogs with you. Your security cameras may be down because there's power outages. It's just a perfect storm for people to go around and find easy targets, right? So my wife and I, we typically bug in, and you should know who your people in your neighborhood are that you can trust that are staying in. Kind of communicate beforehand to know who's going to be around and who's not. And just be aware that this is a very real thing, okay? Now, the police will do their best to step up patrols, but there's a window there where it's not safe for them. And afterwards, their response time is going to be much longer because they're going to be very, very busy helping people, okay? It is what it is. So if you bug out, you should know that there's a high risk I'm not going to say high risk. There's an increased risk for burglaries in your area, okay? If you bug in, you need to know that you are on your own or could be on your own for a prolonged period of time if first responders can't get to you, and you may actually be putting them at risk by doing so. So you have to make those decisions for yourself. Like I said, we look at what's going on in our neighborhood, and I know I've got elderly people here that are going to need my help. I'm also considered essential personnel because I'm a mental health clinician, and there's typically, after a natural disaster, there's a lot of trauma. Well, guess who's trauma trained? Guess who's first aid trained? And guess who's got some security training, right? So I'm actually the guy that you want to stick around your neighborhood. But you have to make that decision for yourself, okay? So let's move on here, and you don't have to stare at this picture of me in front of the Ashley River anymore. All right, so you've chosen to bug in for the storm. Let's talk about what you need to do to make sure that your house is not one of the targets. So the number one thing you need to do is show, because what happens, and we've seen this, the cars will start driving around the neighborhoods and they're looking for targets, right? You can't assume that every car that's slow rolling through the neighborhood that you've never seen before is doing that, but you should probably be paying attention. And some of them are, like when we were looking for a house, we were driving around the neighborhoods after storms to see which areas flooded. That helped us make some choices about our buying. But some people have different motives for that. So
they're going to be looking for houses that look like there's nobody home, right? So what you want to be doing is making sure there's light and sound coming from your home, right? So that's thing one. And I'm going to show some preps later on I'm going to try to get this out before Monday, how we do while we're home, bugging in, how we show to the neighborhood that we're home, right? There's some lighting that we can put even when the power's out. We've got little battery-operated lanterns that we leave all night long. The batteries do not run out. There's some other things that you can do that are similar to that I will show you in another video, and our neighbors have said, oh my gosh, your house just like was lit up. Everybody could tell you were home. So that's what you want. You also want to be having, like, even while you're sleeping, near your doors, I would have some battery operated radios going at a loud enough level that you can check to see, and you want to have those radios playing at a loud enough level that people who come up to the door will hear it from the outside. You can test this yourself. Turn it on, go outside, shut the door, and see if you can hear it, right? And those radios will run for a very, very long time, especially if you get a smaller one. Okay, so now you're showing that you're active. Leave at least one vehicle outside the garage, away from trees, of course, because of the hurricane damage, but that shows that you're home. Be active in your yard leading up to the storm until it's not safe to do so anymore, and then as soon as it is safe to go outside, because that's when the patrols will be coming around, people starting to look for empty houses, you want to be seen working in your yard, okay? Next thing is develop your mutual support group, right? You should be doing this beforehand, not as a hurricane is about to immediately bear down on you, but talk to your neighbors, know which neighbors that you can count on. I've got a neighbor who is a customs police officer. We've got each other's back. When he leaves town, he lets me know. I watch his house. When I leave town, he watches my house. My neighbor behind me is this old hunter dude, and I've got his back, he's got my back. He's watching my backyard. His dog is watching my backyard. We're watching his backyard, right? Talk to each other leading up to the storm and let them know if you're going to be in town or out of town, and ask if you are choosing to bug out. If you are choosing to bug out, ask them if they could keep an eye on your property. Okay. Next thing. Depending on what kind of security system you're using at your house, make sure your batteries and your backup batteries are charged up before you lose power, right? The last thing you want to do is have the power go out and then your security cameras and your security alarms, the batteries die out, okay? So this depends on your system. You may be completely out of luck if your power goes down. I'm not going to get into specific brands and that kind of thing. You can look into this yourself. But if you live in Hurricane Alley like me, this is one of those things that I think you should check into when you're making your decision about which security system you want. All right, next thing. So we talked about your lights and sounds. We talked about being seen, your mutual support group. Now what I want you to make sure that you do is who's taking watch, right? So when the last time we had a really bad hurricane and most people had evacuated, most people had bugged out, my wife and I stayed in, of course, and there wasn't a ton of people in our neighborhood, so we took watch, right? That means at nighttime when things are most likely to go sideways. So I stayed up all night one night, she stayed up one night all night. If you can't do it, you can split the shift, however you want to do. And then if there's any neighbors in your neighborhood that have stayed, communicate with them and say, hey, I'm still here, I'm watching, from 8 o'clock to 2 a.m., or whatever, just make sure you got some communication going. Most of the time, cell phone's fine for that. If something does go sideways in your neighborhood, you need to know, or in your house, somebody's coming in because they thought you weren't there or whatever, you need to know that the police response time's probably going to be longer than it typically would have. So you may be on your own for 10 minutes longer, who knows. Have your plan now. What are you going to do to deal with that threat if it comes in? I don't talk too much about pew 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 on my channel because it's not that I'm against it. I'm actually very much in favor of your rights. But YouTube, I question where they're going with all of this down the road. They seem to not like those channels, and I think the future is not good for those channels. So I will talk here real quick about 2 lines of defense that I do recommend for you. Okay, so number 1, absolutely a must-have for when power outages or otherwise is a really good tactical flashlight. And this is Wildtech. I'll review this at some point down the road. You can see it's got a bezel tip, right? This thing, I can't remember the lumens off the top of my head, but it lights up my yard like a spotlight, like a police spotlight, okay? I've got another one that's 3 times as powerful as this. It's a little bigger. I can light up pretty much my street with that thing. You see a car creeping around at 2 in the morning and they're doing that slow roll through the neighborhood. First thing I would do is kind of light up from the window, light up the outside, let them know that somebody's paying attention, somebody's watching. All right, and if you're not into the pew pew pew, what are you into? You know, do you have at least some self-defense training? Because if they come in your house, it's a close quarters situation. You want to have at least some basic self-defense training. If you haven't done it now, think about doing that this coming year. My wife and I are both martial artists. I have a black belt in Tracy Kempo, a blue belt in Shaolin Kempo. She's trained in Tracy Kempo and Krav Maga. In most states, you can probably get pepper spray without a certification or anything like that. Maybe you just feel more comfortable with that because you don't like the pew pew pew. Okay, that's your personal choice. I'm not trying to convert anybody here. If you haven't already done so, please drop a like. Please consider subscribing. I drop videos at least twice a week. When something like this is going on, I drop them more frequently. Comment down below, are you on the path of this? Are you on the East Coast? Because it looks like it's actually got a chance of even heading all the way up to New England. Let me know if you're in the path of this thing and what are you doing. All right, sorry, one last little bit. So if you were interested in getting a decent tactical flashlight like the one I pictured there, I will try to find a link to that WowTech flashlight for Amazon. But also, you know I'm a big fan of Olight, so I'll put a link down below. If you use my Olight link, you'll get $10 off. And you will also help me to get a little store credit there. So it actually is one of the few ways that you can help the channel right now because I'm not monetized. Thank you so much. All right, that's going to be it for today. I hope you all stay safe during the storm. Keep planting your seeds, stacking your silver. This is Prepping with Sarge.